when you're ready.
Okay, I don't want to go too heavily into the battle at the moment, right? But because of the route we're going to have to take, we came up here because you really have to see this house, right? This was the family home of the McCullochs, and we have some of the descendants here today. And I really want to thank them for the tape that they gave us of Bobby McCulloch talking about his experiences during 1916 in this house. What I want you to look at is, I want you to look over the window. Around the door, you can see where the bricks are discoloured, and that's where in the up to the 1940s and the early 1950s, you could clearly see bullet marks on all of these houses, right? But as house prices started to rise and people started to think about as the aesthetics, they started to clean up the bricks as best they could because nobody wanted a house covered in bullet holes. You see this all over the area where 1916 took place in the city, where there's just a slight, you can see a brick is being replaced. It's not quite the same colour, but you can see this house was hammered. Now, what happened was you had machine guns on the embankment up here. They also had big searchlights. Anything that moved, they shot, right? And you also had a situation that there was members of the Citizen Army had occupied the manure works, sometimes known as the vitriol works, at what's now Ballybock House. And they were firing across the roofs of the houses here at the troops up on the embankment. So this was a very, very, very dangerous place to be. A number of people were killed on this section of the street here. A lot of people were wounded because they were coming back from Prairie House, they were coming back from a day out in Hope, and there was just a shadow pass along the street, and somebody saw them and they shot them. There was a family called Murray who were from Limerick. Now, Mr. Murray had actually lived in this house as a boarder. That's right, yeah. When he worked in Dublin. So when the family found themselves isolated out here with no means of transport to get back into town or safety, they thought, well, at least we know the people in number 4, they might help us out. So they came and knocked on the door and they were taken in. And then everything was fine up to Thursday, and again, something that all the statements of people who were witnesses to what happened is it was incredibly dangerous to look out a window. If you looked out a window, you were probably going to get shot at. And Mr. Murray was going up the stairs and somebody saw him through the fan light over the window and he was shot dead. And this building here was just plastered. And according to Bobby McCulloch, there was, when they were cleaning up the hall afterwards, they found 30 bullets. So you can just imagine. And when you look at the building here, you can just see how devastating it must have been. And you were saying that everyone had spent a number of days hiding under the kitchen table because it was the safest place in the building. Because you couldn't, with people firing at you from both sides, you know, it was dangerous to be at a height.
There were 3 children living in the house.
And there were 3 children living in the house. So you can you imagine how terrifying it must have been for everybody? But again, if you look, and it wasn't just this house, if you look all along this section of Annesley Bridge Road, you can see under the windows where bricks have been replaced. Right. So, maybe she'd bring us inside. So there's one other thing I want to show to you while we're up here. And this is something we discovered yesterday while we were doing the dry run on the walk. Annesley Bridge was built in 1779, but then in 1929 they decided to widen the road as part of building Fairview Park. And that section of the bridge was demolished, right, to widen the road. But basically all the pillars and the railings were just taken away and reassembled. If you go around the columns, you can just see, particularly this one just over here on the left-hand side, is completely riddled with bullets. You can see where all the bullets were just ricocheting off it. And as you go down the line, right, particularly on the riverside, you can actually see where a lot of bullets just ricochet off. Now on this side, it seems to be okay. There's just on the first column up here, you can see where a couple of bullets bounced off it. We might just go up and take a look at it so you can see what to look for, right? But when the tour is finished, the people want, we can go up and have a look at the other side of the bridge and just see. It just gives you some sense of just how devastating. The Irish Independent said the heaviest shooting of the first 2 days of the rising took place at Annesley Bridge. If you look over there, you can understand it.